Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about pre-kindergarten art project ideas. I like to go over different objectives with my pre-K students so they understand what art is and how it's all around us. And then we talk about colors, primary and secondary colors, two-dimensional shapes, get a chance to look at different media, things that we use in the art room, whether it's paint or markers or crayons or oil pastels. We also talk about 2 or 3 famous artists throughout the school year. When it comes to materials, I love for my students to become independent. I lay them out on a table. Most of the time, it's done by color so they can easily go and pick out what they need and then go back to their seat. They only use certain materials for a certain amount of time, so they might only go and get 2 or 3 markers, switch those out, and then go 2 or 3 more markers. That way they're not having to get 8 markers and they're all over the floor. Well, here's a very simple project where they're tearing paper to create a character's face. And we talk about how we can tear the papers small or big, just depending on how we pinch the paper and then tear it. And then they're provided with pre-cut circles. And with those circles, they can go ahead and start making the facial features of their particular character. So whether it's Elmo or the Cookie Monster, they can make those particular designs on their artwork. We talk about a solar system as well. And so the students are making their own painted paper. And so I give them a sheet of paper and maybe 2 colors, and they're able to mix those 2 colors on the painted paper. And then we let that painted paper dry. When we come back to class, they share those painted papers and they cut their circles out. They'll have 1 big circle, 1 medium circle, and 1 small circle to glue to a background. Then they add dotted white dots with a Q-tip and white paint to make stars, or I might even give them some star stickers that they can add to their project. For this fish frolic art project, the students are actually using paint and some cardboard tubes where they are able to do the background, let it dry, and when we come back, we're cutting out triangles from squares to create our fish. This is a kiln fired art project where the students are using clay, and they take the clay, they roll it in a ball, they press it down to a very thick cookie, and then they're able to use small toys like Legos and things like that to make imprints. But I also do this towards the end of the school year, so that way they're more prepared for how to make an indentation without actually breaking through the clay here. But if you're not interested in using kiln fire clay, this is a wonderful way to introduce them to clay with air dry clay. And so the students are making a necklace or beaded necklace on this one, where they are taking a piece of air dry clay and they're drawing on it with washable markers. And I allow them to use 1 marker per bead, and they're going to color on that clay and then take that clay and roll it into a ball, and then take a skewer, like a wooden skewer that's not too pointed, where they actually push the skewer through the clay so that it can dry with a hole in it. And then later on, they string that ball of clay, or the ones that they've made, along with pony beads to make a necklace. With the robot project that they do, they use shapes, and the shapes that they're going to be focusing on are squares, rectangles, and triangles. So they're able to make triangles from squares, or they can make rectangles from squares as well. And then they're gluing them down to make a robot, along with being able to draw in the background movement. So whether it's tossing a football or they're doing some dancing in the background, some simple activities where students can see how movement plays into this particular piece of artwork. With the pizza, they're actually going to use a piece of construction paper that's cut out into a circle. And the reason why I'm using paper and not a paper plate is because I want them to be able to use either a crayon that does not have any paper on it, so it's a naked crayon, or a flat, to be able to take that crayon and put it on its side and then rub it back and forth across the paper to get some texture onto their pizza background. Then once they're done with that, they're able to take pre-cut shapes, and glue them down to make pizza. And then they can cut out slithers of yellow paper in order to create the cheese. When it comes to creating the mittens and making sure that they have that symmetrical look to them, so the mittens look the same, I am doing a smash kind of artwork here where the students are going to take a sheet of paper, fold it in half, and then once you open it up, and the students use 2 or 3 colors, they drip the paint on one side using a spoon, and then they take that piece of paper and they close it up. So they press it down like a book so that the paint smashes in between. And when they open it up, they see a beautiful design. We let it dry. And when we come back, I let them trace a shape of a mitten on one side, and we talk about how we can cut it out so that they can get the 2 shapes. When it comes to creating this owl face, it's the same type of idea where you're taking a sheet of paper, but this time it's black, and they are going to put paint on one side in the shape of a circle. So I use paint brushes with this one, and the students are doing circles of paint on one side. And once they've done that and they folded it and it's dry, then they come back and cut out circles or use triangles or different shapes that I might have to create the eyes and the beak as well as the ears. So they also create a fall tree. And on the fall tree, we trace a paper plate in the background. We take the students' hands and allow them to put it right down on the bottom of that. Now they have this tree. Their fingers are the branches. And then they come back and they take yellow and red paint to create an orange. So they're taking their fingertips, only 1 or 2 fingertips, to actually blend the colors to make the leaves, and then they're able to cut that out when it's all dry and glue it to a background. For Mondrian, the students are actually going to be using squares and rectangles to create this piece. So they are cutting out squares, rectangles, gluing them down on the edges. I love for them to use the edge of the paper as a guide. And then they are going to be using strips of black paper that are already pre-cut to kind of lay across the seams. And we talk about what a seam is and how they can lay it across and try to get it on there so that it goes from one side to the other side. Are you ready for our last project? The ball pit pet, where the students are actually using the dot markers that you might use for bingo to create all the dots in the background. But first, they trace a couple of circles to make the face. So they're using a large circle for the mouth and the nose, and then they're using 2 smaller circles for the eyes. Then they're able to make their own triangle, and we talk about how to make a triangle for the nose, and we talk about smiley faces to help us make the areas of the nose and the mouth, as well as making little dots around the face. I hope that you have gotten some ideas from these pre-K art ideas that I've used in my classroom. And if you're looking for more ideas or art lessons, you can check out my YouTube page or my Teachers Pay Teachers page or Pinterest. Thank you for watching. Have a great afternoon.